Okay, the recording has begun. Welcome to the Wednesday night Success Partners International Team Training Zoom. We will start off as we always do with our signature message. If you have it in front of you, feel welcome to read it along with me, but it goes like this. I'm part of a growing team of entrepreneurs with a shared mission to protect and empower 2 million families and small businesses with Legal Shield's network of law firms and world-class identity theft services. What we do matters, and we are looking for help. Make sure you have that message where you constantly see it so you memorize it, internalize it, and it's available to you when you get into conversations and you need to use all or part of that message. With that, it's my pleasure to turn the room over to the owner of the room, the founder of Success Partners International, Millionaire Club member, coach, and mentor, Mr. John Drennan. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Spot on with the music, spot on with the check-in. What a pro you are. I love your new background, and welcome everyone. John Drennan here in New Hampshire, and it's been quite an evening, starting with the 8 o'clock presentation tonight. I had the honor of doing that, the membership and business presentation, and then we shut that down and went right into our first ever call blitz, and kudos to those who joined in on that. And then from that, right into the music, and then from that, right into the check-in, and here we are. So I'm starting ending hour 2 here, and it's been a great evening. And so I mentioned the 8 o'clock Zoom, and I think everyone on here knows that we're doing 2 Zooms a day, Monday through Friday. And tonight we had several people on that Zoom, and one of them I know had a guest and has already gotten some feedback or result from that. So Lee Perry, I know you were on there and shared that you had something happen from that. Will you come on and share what happened?
I would love to, Mr. Drennan. Thank you so much. I got a referral today from a friend. I was leaving an actual live in-person coffee meeting with a member, talking to her about ID Shield, and got a text when I got to the car, a Facebook message. Hey, I need your cell phone number. I have somebody that needs Legal Shield right away. Can you call him ASAP? And I said, is it okay if I do it from my car? She said, yes. And I called, and he's got a soon-to-be ex-crazy wife and needed Legal Shield, and asked me some questions. I said, well, let me tell you who I am and what I do. I'm not an attorney. I represent Legal Shield. I gave him the 2-sentence, who we are and what we do. I said, we actually have a Zoom presentation this evening that'll cover our membership. It's just 15 minutes, and then that's followed by how the business works. And he said, well, I'll be leaving a church meeting. I don't know if I can get on right at 7. And I said, that's just hop on when you can, and we'll talk afterwards. He stayed on for the entire time. I called him immediately after we hung up. Matt Miller has trained me that you make those phone calls right away. Don't let him sit. So I did talk to him, got him signed up, and he's super excited that he also gets his will done and his medical directives, and he'll be able to talk to an attorney with all his questions and get everything taken care of once. And had I not had him on the Zoom, Mr. Drennan, he wouldn't have had the full presentation and known everything, all the power that his membership will have for him starting first thing tomorrow morning. Back to you, sir.
Well, congratulations, kudos. What a great story. And, you know, you made a great point there. Well, if someone sees a Zoom presentation, they've seen enough to make a decision, certainly on the membership. Now, the business might take a little more discussion. I get that, but kudos on that, and I hope you all heard that was a referral. And that's because Lee's been out serving her community. People know who she is, and so what a great story and great use of the Zoom. And wasn't that better, Lee, than saying to this individual, hey, can you come to lunch? Hey, can you come out Tuesday night or whatever? It was just boom, 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 all in one day, new member. And who's your very best associate prospect? It's a satisfied member.
And he's in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Mr. Drennan, so it made it much easier.
Okay, and you're licensed there?
Yes, sir, as of this morning.
That's one of a handful of states that still require license. Slowly, we're knocking those out. Okay, next, you know, we had our first ever call blitz, and we had a small group tonight. It was new, and maybe 7 or 8 people. And we were a little slow getting started because it was the first one. We laid some groundwork and so on. In my case, I was able to call one person and leave a message, and then I sent text messages, and not the same message. I mean, personalized text messages and links and stuff to 10 different people and tracked it all. And that was in about 30 minutes. So what that showed me is I can do about three, let's see, I did 10 in 30 minutes. So that means I did one in about 3 minutes. And that's to send the message, make my notes on it, and take a drink of water. So about 3 minutes. So that says in an hour I can do 20. And so I'd like to open it up to those. I know Jane, you were on from the start. Carol, so were you. Lee, who we just heard from. Susan, Timmer, Steve. Anyone else that was part of that? Maybe you weren't part of all of it, but if you'd like to comment, what was that like for you? What'd you learn? How do you feel? What do you think about it going forward? Maybe hear from a couple of you. Anyone want to start?
Yeah, John, it's Jane Lehman. I love doing these kind of blitzes. Susan Comer, Lee Perry, and I have done them before, where we simply get on, mute it out. As you noticed tonight, those that were on it, and you feel like you're in the same room with a person getting work done, and it just helps you stay concentrated and keep working. So I love doing that.
Yeah, and I agree. To me, it was community. I mean, I'm looking up and seeing others, and they're on the phone. You could see them talking, or they're texting, or they're, emailing. So I thought it was great. And for me, that time just blew by. And for me also, I'm super busy these days. And for me, just having that time to focus on reaching out to prospects was really valuable. Anyone else?
Carol Escher, Gregory, Michigan. I did 8 calls. 6 of them were voicemail and 1 text. And I was more interested in catching up with people because of the time of day it was, as opposed to selling Legal Shield, but mentioned it. Thank you.
Okay, and Carol, my attitude, I'm never going out to people to sell Legal Shield. I'm going out to either enhance my relationship or invite them to evaluate something and then follow up. But kudos to you, on making those calls. And folks, we do get a lot of voicemail. We have for years. So a good thing to do with voicemail is to let the person know you've gotten something valuable you'd like to share with them as soon as possible, that it's timely. And the timeliness is the next Zoom. But a little bit of urgency in your message that would cause someone to want to get back to you. Okay, anyone else that was on the call blitz want to share your experience?
Hey, John, it's Timmer Halligan here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And, I caught the last 20 minutes or so of the call blitz. I was actually doing a 3-way call with Annette Zobar, who had a guest on the 8 o'clock call tonight that you did. And here's what I found: in that 20 to 25 minutes, I was able to make 6 calls. I sent about 12 texts, but what I loved was the agenda behind what the call was about, or the Zoom was about, and that was to get to work for that 40 minutes of time. And you feel like when you're sitting there, the accountability to have to do things. When I first got on it, I got on it late because I was doing the call, and I said, everyone else is making calls right now. I need to start making some calls. So then I started making some calls, leaving some voicemails, reaching out to people that I knew I was intending on calling earlier today, but I just didn't get around to it because I had a busy day. But that 20 minutes that I had really incentivized me, or really motivated me, because I saw everybody else on the phone, to make those calls. So I'm looking forward to the next one when they do. It was really the most productive 20 minutes I've had all day. Back to you.
I hear you, man. And yeah, I got to tell you, when we got to 9:10 and Steve Beck started the music, I didn't want to stop. So I just kept going while the music was playing. Then I looked up and noticed some people that were just kind of watching the music. And my thought was, let's use these 10 minutes and think about that 10 minutes to be able to send some texts or emails or make a call while you got the music in the background. Of course, you're not going to be on the phone with the music, but so Timmer, just like you got on there and felt like, man, I got to start doing it. I didn't want to stop doing it. So anyone else?
Yeah, hi, it's Susan Comer, Louisville, Kentucky. And I agree with what was just said. It was so great to know that I had things that I didn't get done today, and I knew that I was going to have this time to focus and do it with others, and to show us that how much you can get done if you have focused time, even if it's a small increment of time, no matter what it is. If you're focused, you get the activity done, and it feels good. Thanks.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. You've heard from a few of us, and just some notes for next time. First of all, we're doing this every week, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Now, there may be an interruption next week because, no, I'm sorry, next week is the 30th. No, we're definitely doing it next week. I was thinking it was October 1st. So we're doing it next week, and we'll do it every week unless there's some reason not to do it. Couple ideas. It's okay if you come on late. Not everyone started right at 8:30, but even if you're on for 15 minutes, as you heard, you can make a difference. Next, be prepared. You want to have your names, you want to have the numbers, you want to know who you're reaching out to, and then track. For me, it was the tracking sheet that's on the Success Partners calendar. I just use a prospect tracking sheet so I could list the name and make notes on what I sent each person. Okay, so with that, I want to share my screen and talk about something else that I got thinking about this. This is something that's not been talked about for a long time on one of our trainings. And for me, this was really significant when I first got in this industry. And I just want to take you through it. You know, some of you have seen this and heard this trained on. Some of you haven't, but it's the law of association. I was first exposed to this in probably the 80s, 1980s, where I heard a speaker trainer say, you know, we tend to be like the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And I remember hearing that and stopping and thinking, wow, okay, that makes sense. I thought back to my high school days, my college days, my current days then, and started thinking about who are the 5 that I've been around over time, and those have changed over time. And because then it says here, you know, they influence what we read and what we eat, what we say and how we say it. You know, if you're around people tend to cuss, you'll tend to cuss. If you're around people that always eat fast food, you'll tend to eat more fast food. You know, how we spend our time, how we spend our money. You know, the whole idea of keeping up with the Joneses has to do with this. And who our friends are. They influence everything. And because I first got this concept in the 80s, at that time, our 3 kids were really young. And I remember thinking, this is so true. So I started caring more about who our kids associated with than I did whether or not they acted bratty at home. Because I felt how they acted at home wasn't as important as who they're out there hanging out with. And I think that's true. Now, how they act at home matters, and who they spend their time with is going to affect that. But I always looked at who are they spending their time with. And then thinking about this, right now, each of us, think about who are the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are you okay with your 5? And are you okay with the effect they're having on you? And this can get a little bit awkward because, you know, if you're married, the person you spend the most time with is your spouse. And there's no question our spouses are going to affect all these things to some degree. And then it might be coworkers where you know, if you work a job and you're with people 40, 50 hours a week, there's no question that's maybe part of your 5. Or friends. So it's so valuable to ask the question, okay, who are my 5? What do they have me eating, reading, thinking, saying, spending my time, my money? And am I okay with that? And from there, you can have a strategy. Sometimes it makes sense to limit your association. So we call that limited association. I had to do that when I was a young man in college and holiday time. I had to limit my association with my own family. And I know some of you can relate to that in dysfunction. So, or I had certain friends that I really had to limit my time with because it was wearing off on me things that I didn't want in my life. You know, maybe they were smoking. I didn't want that. Maybe they were cussing a lot. And I just didn't want to be around that, or whatever it was. I mean, different things at different times in my life where I just thought, you know, I'm going to spend less time with this person. Now, sometimes you have to have disassociation. That means cut them off. Like, I just can't be around this person anymore. And I think you've all had experiences of that and know what I'm talking about. So that's more intense than limited association. And that can be hard, you know, whether you're cutting off family members or friends, and just disassociation. And that doesn't mean you can't circle back and reassociate. And I had to do that with some family, literally disassociate, and then eventually could circle back and reassociate. And then the next strategy is enhanced associations. This is where you start changing your 5 and understand that. I mean, if you think about who the 5 people are you hang around with, I'll bet they have about the same income and net worth as you. I'll bet their money habits and earning habits are about the same as yours. So when you enhance that, you know, if you go from hanging around people with your income to people that have 5 times your income, you're not going to be the same. You're going to pick up what they do, how they spend their time, their habits, their thought processes. You know, you're going to hear less blame and more responsibility. You're going to hear more strategy, better use of time. You're just going to hear those things. Jim Rohn used to say he was part of a club of millionaires, and every now and then they'd bring a billionaire in to talk to them, and wow, what a difference that was. And he was always trying to wiggle his way into the group of billionaires. So it's true at every level. So then the question is, who can you enhance your associations with? And a good strategy for that is make a list of a few people that maybe you really respect, you admire them for what they've done, who they are, how they act, how they are as parents, and invite them to lunch. Say, hey, can I, and just be very straightforward. You call them and say, hey, the reason for my call, I'm just going to be really upfront. I've always admired how you parent or how you conducted yourself in business. And I wondered if I bought us lunch, would you be willing to just share some things? And could I just kind of pick your brain? And I think most people would say yes to that. But do understand, it's hard. It's hard to enhance your association with people who are maybe across the board doing better than you in different areas of life when they're trying to do the same thing. You know, they're trying to enhance their associations. So that can be a bit of a stretch and a challenge. But again, the strategy, offer to buy lunch, be humbled and be sincere. So I hope this has been helpful. But this is real important in this business because our business is all about people. Our business is all about our attitudes. You know, I know we all understand and have experienced friends or family saying things like, "What? I can't believe you're doing network marketing," or "How's that legal thing you're doing going?" or "Are you still in that legal thing?" And you know, if you take off a Saturday to be at an event and you miss a family birthday party, you catch all kinds of grief for that. But you might have the sibling who also missed. Why? Because they had to go to work and work overtime. And everyone says, oh, well, they couldn't be there because they had to work, but you You chose not to be there because of that thing you're doing. So we've all put up with those kinds of attitudes, and that goes back to law of association. And one thing about what we do with Success Partners is create the association so that 5 mornings a week you can be on with like-minded, positive people who support you in our trainings and things. So we create the ability to, you could almost say that this team is one of your 5, even though there's a lot of us collectively, we're one of your 5 influencing what you read, what you eat, what you say, how you say it, who you spend time with, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, the Summer Blast was a great example of that because we really focused on health principles and financial principles and personal development and legal shield business principles. So this is really a significant conversation as it relates to what we do in this business, but also it relates to your other businesses, your job, and again, your children. So just be aware of your associations, your associates' associations. And, you know, when it comes to recruiting, we say don't prejudge. And too often I hear people say, well, I'm going to look for people who are specifically this or that. And you know, that's impossible to know. But what we can say is, I'm not going to bring people into my business who I know cheat and lie and lack integrity and are full of drama, and I can't trust them. That's not the association you want. So I would say, yeah, you can judge those folks and say, I'm just not going to allow them in my business. But beyond that, we can't prejudge people. So with that, I hope that was helpful. We're going to wrap up tonight. A couple announcements. 1 week from tonight is the last night of the month and the quarter. And then the next night, which will be Thursday, October 1st, will be a special about 2.5, 3 hour presentation by Legal Shield, where they're going to announce incentives for the month and the quarter and do recognition. And then, of course, our October 9th and 10th leadership event, there will be no announcements of incentives or that kind of thing. It's going to be pure personal growth. And so I just talked about the law of association. The leadership event takes that up so many levels because you're literally in the midst on Zoom of so many highly successful people, including our guest speaker Don Yeager. So that's a great example of a weekend of high level association. And then finally, bear with me. Okay, that's all. So we're going to wrap up with a short video. Thanks again to Steve Beck. I'm going to stop my screen share here. Everyone have a great week. And Steve, back to you, sir.
Hi, this is Ivan with IvanMeisner.com, and today I want to talk about doing 6 things 1,000 times. That's right, you heard me. Doing 6 things 1,000 times. This is part of the Ivanisms series where I talk about simple concepts that if you apply in your business will make you very, very successful. And this is an important one. I learned years ago that if you do 6 things 1,000 times, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you do 1,000 things 6 times. What I find is that most business people are often looking for these bright, shiny objects. Oh, look at that. Let's try this. Oh, wait, this is a great idea. Let's try that. No, you really want to be successful. You have to do things over and over and over again consistently. We are what we do repeatedly. Therefore, excellence is not a single act, it's a habit. You have to pursue something like a dog with a bone. If you are persistent, you will get it. If you are consistent, you will keep it. Pick a lane and stay in it in business. Let me tell you something. I may not be the smartest man in a room, or I may not be the most successful man in a room, but I am almost always the most persistent man in a room. If you do 6 things 1,000 times and not 1,000 things 6 times, you are much more likely to be successful. Now, what 6 things you say? Well, talk to mentors, talk to people who can help you, who know your business, and get suggestions from them. Don't just take any 6 things, but take a handful of things that you know will work and they're proven from someone that you trust. Oh, and by the way, 6 is a rough number. Maybe it's 7, maybe it's 5, but you take a handful of things and you do them consistently over time. You do that, and I promise you, you'll be a lot more successful in business. This is Dr. Ivan Misner with IvanMisner.com. Thanks for watching.